Can't dim my light, can't take my life. My path is chosen. I sacrificed, I paid the price. I won't be broken. I am royalty. It's my destiny. You know my time is now. They can't take my crown.
Direct intel, ancestral symbology spread across the diaspora is coded in my honesty. Intuitive connection, strengthen tribes' camaraderie. Parallel universe, that's another side of me. Guided by dreams and wisdom, build my economy. In silent meditation, that's how spirit respond to me. Play a part that plays in your natal chart. Not trusting your blueprint is where betrayal start. Ignoring warnings, pivotal insight. How you were descendant of Moabites, Hittites. Nothing rhetorical. I'm tapped in, my sister's an oracle. Future seen through the orbital. Through lessons informing you, honor my blood and features. Akashic reveal my deepest secrets. Creative crown lobes from the ethers. In real time I'm living it. Being tree on the mounds of Mount Gilead. Team spirit, magical affiliates.
The lost scriptures from the Hudson River. Stories of 40s, blunts and liquor. Written by shorties, bloods and killers. Hands through bars, identify mugs from mirrors. He's from Flatbush, cuz is fearless. He in the black book, drugs and realness. But in they cell block by himself on the cot. They time held by the clock, water pail in the mop. On sorted mail for the stock, in jail till they rot. Most of their elders was Griselda. Cocaine kingpins, gold chains gleaming, dope ring of demons. Now we upload King Tut Gold, we need answers. We transfer crown loads, major priest to ground patrol. Last a case of Brax's face around poles. Lead by example, priest is the ample, no priest is the handle. As I write, light each of the candles, I feel brand new.
Can't take my life, can't take my life. My path is chosen. I sacrificed, I paid the price. I won't be broken. I am royalty. It's my destiny. You know my time is now. They can't take my crown.
Music chairs, Game of Thrones, souvenirs with angel bones. Have you connected to the source and made your brain a phone? Climb till I reached the highest plane and I made it home. Connect the whole universe with one jet, remain alone. Got my angels and my ancestors on a conference call. Shooting Aztecs to the gods that said I dropped the ball. My first step, flagging the earth while I still watch them crawl. Immortalized the human anatomy at the Taj Mahal. I struck lightning when it hit me, I ain't shot the Lord. You're knocking, I just blew it, it's impossible, I knew it. We all AI, I guess Allah prompted me to do it. Who made mythic creatures into continents and drew the map? My Venus spoke to Gemini. Before it was a Google app. The mic levitates when I talk without holding it. By accident, I'm still on point without knowing it. And I ain't right to think of this verse, I ground loaded it.
We crown holders and ground soldiers, the finest diamonds. They doing manifestation, we do divine alignment. This ain't no occupation, it's a higher soul assignment. Sacred, irreplaceable information, rewind it. I don't relate to these fraud dudes and clown hoes. 520 hertz is the frequency that my sound holds. Every written down flow, feeling like I found gold. Channeling profound codes, turn them into crown loads. They try silencing the chosen ones, it never works. Lessons heavy like collections at the mega church. We manifest a heaven just to build a better earth. And when you hear that word crown loads, you know who said it first. Lyrically mystical, healing you, medicinal. And on this mic, these rappers saying nothing you should listen to. Life is cyclical, like the spin on an elliptical. This priest mix is fire, but run back the original.
Can't take my life, can't take my life. My path is chosen. I sacrificed, I paid the price. I won't be broken. I am royalty. It's my destiny. You know my time is now. They can't take my crown.
All right. Greetings, and welcome back to another edition of New Day Resurrection and Liberation Podcast. All right, I'm co-host and moderator for this evening, Brother Lumumba Uncaged. Of course, I have with me the host with the most, Empress Chief.
Yes. All right, Brother Lumumba, how you be this evening?
Oh, I'm good. You know, everything is everything. Doing a little ripping and running earlier today, and getting some things situated. But you know, all is well. You know, just looking forward to continuing the process of growth and development. You know, continual elevation and evolution.
I know that's right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. How about yourself? How you making out?
Oh, just getting things ready, getting more ready, shall I say, and of course, in the very near future, here on New Day and Ethereal Journey, we're going to be talking more about some of what's going to be happening next year, because we want folks to really be ready, really be prepared. Next year is going to be very, very interesting, very exciting, and also very productive. And so, of course, we've been talking about the what's happening with the launching of one of the traditional kinds of observances for the Dogon peoples. Well, we got some updates for you on that. And of course, there's an energy that I'm already tapping into in that regard. So we're going to be in the next few weeks or so, giving you a little more insight into what some of that is about. We often hear other folks' kinds of views on what's happening in the universe, the cosmology, and things of that nature. Well, what about our own? What about the peoples that we know that have documented history that is in regards to universal order, universal power? And so, a lot of times people talk to us about prayer and other kinds of things, and we certainly encourage that. We certainly, do that, meditation, all of that. But also, what about the other kinds of energies and things that we can tap into? Again, that's ours, that we know is specifically connected to our people. So that's what next year is going to enable us to do. And so we're going to get prepared to literally be a part of next year's festival and observance, and the kind of getting ready for what the Dogon people have been doing for centuries. We're going to play a part in that, so we'll be giving you more information about that in the next couple of weeks. So I'm really feeling it, Brother Lumumba, I tell you.
All right. Excellent. Yes, indeed. Wonderful.
So I know this is, like a Stargate or a time period. Yeah. It's Lionsgate. I know people are talking about that. And so, again, some of these things that we talk about and focus on, the history is really connected more so to Europeans. And so, again, we want to make sure that we're focusing on things that our people have been teaching, observing, and embracing.
I say.
All right. So again, welcome, family. We just want to remind you that it is Black August. And so tonight, we're going to talk more about Black August in the context of how some are embracing it with study, with training, and other things relevant to that. We're going to announce to you tonight with one of the Million Woman March Universal Movement new initiative. It's not really new, but we're actually putting it in place now for greater activation. And it's linked to the Black August, because this particular initiative or initiatives is geared to our women that are incarcerated and or have returned, or shall I say have been released from bondage of that type. So tonight we're going to share with you what some of the programs and initiatives are, and from the Million Woman Ministries. And it's interesting, Brother Moon started us off with, I love that video. Oh my God. I mean, that's probably right now. It's probably my favorite video, and it's interesting because tonight we're going to share with folk why we're really encouraging you. If you haven't gotten your membership yet for MWM, now is really important during Black August because one of the initiatives that we're working on is focusing on getting some of our own equipment, and that includes sewing machines, and with that. Part of that initiative will be to train or to assist some of our women and girls. We're going to start with our women to know how to sew, right? Fundamentally, and then for the ones that want to be more advanced, then we'll do that as well in terms of going more into tailoring and drafting patterns and things of that nature. But they'll get fundamental training in sewing. And one of our first lines, interestingly enough, Brother Lumumba, is called the Royal Crowns. How about that? The culture crowns and the royal crowns. So essentially, once we get our team up and running, our sisters will be able to make their own money because they'll be employed to produce one of our first lines, with our women, and it will be crowns, or what some people might call hats. That's right. All right. And so this is what's getting ready to come. The production of our own headwear that our women will be producing, also designing and things of that nature. So again, this month we begin to kick it off to get it ready. Our fundraising, I won't even say fundraising. The way we want to do that is with some of our membership. Some of our membership proceeds will go towards that particular project to help our girls, our women, to learn sewing. But guess what? It's beyond that. It is to learn fabric. It's to learn textiles. You rarely hear us talk about textiles. You see, we got to now grow up and take this thing to the next level. So we want to make sure that our people, and right now we're starting with our women, to know the difference, what the weaving, to weave, to know what does that stuff entail. See, most people have a monopoly over that market. And we just, sit back and act like it doesn't exist. We'll get into fashion, designing, and things of that nature. But what about actual textile production? Well, that's down the road. But I'm just saying it got to start with something. So again, to know the difference between polyester and linen, to know what silk really is, the origin and the sensitivity and power of it as a textile, as a fabric. These are the kinds of things we're going to be talking about in teaching. So again, I'm going to stop there. That gives you a general idea, but we encourage our women to definitely get your membership now. Some of it is just general membership. We don't have to do anything, but just, get your membership. That's it. And then for some others, if you want to be more active, then we got that for you too. So I'm going to turn it over to Brother Lumumba. What we got next, Brother Lumumba?
All right. Yes, indeed. With that, also, I got a, clip for Baba, the ancestor, Mutulu Shakur. And if you want, I can run that short as well for Black August. It's like that minute clip just to get people more familiar.
Absolutely. All right. So again, this is Black August, and there are key people, family, that we should all be aware of. The history of Dr. Mutulu Shakur is certainly one of them. And by the way, today is his born day, Earth Day. He was born on this day, 1950. He, of course, is an ancestor now. His contribution, His contribution to justice and Black liberation is like none other. And the example that he has given us, but here's the other thing, what we like to do, family. We like to look at their work, but also what they are telling us to do. This is what we did with Queen Mother Moore Week. She literally said things that, as far as we're concerned, that was instruction. That was when she talked about developing an institution that would honor our ancestors and provide education and so forth. That was instruction. That's what she wanted to do. Yes. So we're going to bring that stuff forward as best as we can. This is honoring our ancestors, not just talking about, oh, yeah, they were great. No, where's the work part to that? Right. So back to you, Brother Mumba.
All right, absolutely, absolutely. Give thanks and shout out to those who support and those who tapping in, those who will see it now in the future. Shout out to Sister Shirley Baker, Sister Jay Renee, all right, for tapping in with us on our YouTube live, and then those who tapped in with us here in the yard. All right, so shout out to Chief Elder, as well as Brother Khalid. All right, give
Hey,
thanks.
and look at Chief Elder's crown, y'all. See, that's what we're talking about. Look at that. See, there's he's right on point. See, there it is. And see, and that's what we're told. We're going to produce our own, both traditional as well as creative, because we know the history of women's headwear and men too. But again, our women, particularly ones that used to go to church. One of the key things back in the day, growing up, and even to some degree today, is the incredible type of hats that women used to wear. I mean, this was part of our culture. So now we're going to take that and transform it or bring it forward with, other kinds of creativity. Again, some will be tradition, some will be just outright artistic, but y'all get it. We got it. We get ready to get it done. So again, let's go back to Brother Lumumba. Thank you, Chief Albert, for wearing your crown tonight.
Okay. All right, with that, family, we're going to jump into this short clip on Black August, right? Just to get folks a little bit more familiar who may not be. This is just a quick hit on some of the basics, some of the fundamentals of Black August.
Man, Black August is a time where those of us who are committed to the liberation of all Black people make sacrifices in honor of those great sacrifices that were made for us. August holds so much history of Black struggle. It is the beginning of the Haitian Revolution. It is the beginning of Nat Turner's rebellion. It is the month in which Jonathan and George Jackson passed away. And I can go on and on for every single day in the month of August, how it connects back to Black liberation. Black August is a time for us to recommit to the struggle, recommit to our people. Every man and woman who has ever taken up arms, who has ever been caught by COINTELPRO, and who have been spending the last 4 to 5 decades behind the walls, this is our time to reconnect back with them and do everything we can to bring our people home. There is no liberation struggle in the history of the world that has ever succeeded by leaving its people behind.
All right, there you have it, family. Just got my screen share there.
Ashe. Brother Lumumba, quick change in the schedule. Initially, I wanted to play a longer clip, which we'll get to, that gave the history of Dr. Matula. But my spirit is, I'd like to hear his voice. So could you look for the other clip? And this one is him. This is Dr. Matula Shakur speaking. You'll see it where it says, go to around where it says like 10:14, because the first part of that video is some other folks talking, which is cool, but I wanted to go directly to him because I want you to hear, family, again, what he's saying to do, right? This is when he had just got out of being incarcerated. And again, we're going to give you history about him because his history is incredible when you hear that. But I want you to hear his voice, his words. This is his day. Again, he was born in 1950 on this day. But I want you to hear the connection that he made in different areas, particularly with brothers and sisters coming together.
All right. share my screen once again.
Okay. And that was a great clip on oh wait a minute, who is that? Is that okay, I was thinking was that Talib. Okay, that's another Talib. Okay.
Oh yeah, yes, Brother Khalid, yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Greetings, brother. All right.
That's my brother. Matter of fact, you met him when we went up to the church with Pastor Keith.
Okay. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. I remember. Okay. Good. Thanks. Cool. Good to see you again.
All right, let me go ahead and share a screen. How you feeling this evening? How you doing, good brother?
Oh, you're muted. Got to unmute.
Oh no, he is unmuted though, but for some reason the volume is the audio isn't coming through. You might gotta that happened before. You might gotta log out and log back in again. I see your mic is unmuted, but I'm not getting any audio.
Yeah, we're not hearing you. We see your lips moving though,
Yeah, you might
but
gotta
we're
go
not hearing.
go out.
You.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, yeah. With that being said though, let me come to this clip here while the brother's coming back through.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, we should be there.
Yeah, go to about 10.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
Right on.
How
Right on.
you doing?
First, let me just greet you. New African greeting. Free the land, brother. Free the land.
Land, brother.
How you feeling?
It's good to be home. You can't underestimate freedom.
Right on.
Really cannot underestimate freedom.
Right on.
But it's so rewarding, encouraging to see the new African man establish a forefront of liberation organizations in this period. It hasn't always been disorganized. We had mass demonstrations, we had rallies, teach-ins, we had marches. But one of the weaknesses in the black man's role in this liberation was the ability to put together administrative predictability from the black man. The black woman is out there kicking and scratching. In the last 10 years, the black woman has shown herself to be politically astute and sufficiently organized to hold back the vicious examples of oppression that we are being confronted with. We owe them a continuing effort to put together structures, infrastructures to hold back and back them up as they move forward into the next years, decades coming. And it's coming. We as black men was the #1 target to these races. We were the #1 target, not because our fat black asses was worth anymore, but because they determined that if they undermine the black man, they undermine the nation. In the discussion of where do we go forward, we could not find a more clear example of genocide waged against an individual type than the struggle to suppress the black man from his genitals all the way up to his brain. And every technique they use to undermine our confidence, our courage, and our ability to set our spirit free was an attempt to undermine the whole black nation. So, black man, we are now in a position with the black woman holding up the sky, beating back these slugs, holding on, waiting for us to come. They're waiting for us to come. Stop this horizontal aggression that's primarily done by black men, African men, killing our race, killing each other, killing our culture. The black man has an obligation to get side by side with this great black woman. And let's get this party started.
Can everybody hear?
Doc, you lived a whole life of struggle. You lived a
Yes,
whole life
I
of
think it might be on
leadership,
your
whole
end.
black men and
Chief
strong black women who developed you from a teenager through all your years, throughout the different organizations that you've been a part of. We got a lot of brothers and sisters on these calls who come on, who are first joining into
let me just pause real quick.
All
Just to
right.
okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure everybody can hear the audio. You can hear the audio, Sister Empress?
Oh yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. All right, yeah. So yeah, Chief Elder, that's something going on your end. All right, good, thanks. All right, yeah, I guess I can stop it there.
Yeah, you can stop there for now. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, definitely, echoing, some of the sentiments, that we've been sharing and dialoguing about, that initial attack, of the black man, of black manhood and masculinity. And, that's definitely something that was one of my primary focuses as far as the development of the Mighty Ma'atic Men of Valor Action Network, and being able to create the framework in order to make sure that we can put ourselves and each other back in our proper place and position, as pillars, directors, protectors, and providers, and pillars for our household, for our families, and for our communities, right? Because when you take out the pillar, it weakens the entire structure. All right. And so that was one of the primary attacks that they launched to remove black men. And, we were able to show a history of that coming all the way from enslavement, and moving through until, such programs like the initial welfare program, where specifically black men were not allowed to be in the household in order for women to get benefits and things of this nature. So we were able to show like a timeline of the attack on black women and the attack on black men, the dilapidation of the family unit, the dilapidation of the communities, and then once the men were gotten out the way, they were able to then attack the women and children, which is the primary focus currently.
Well, I have a different spin on that, which I won't go into right now. but those are points that need to definitely be looked at. But it's a little deeper than that, and even prior to the system implementing things like the so-called, not to have the father in the home and all of that. So I think it's very important that we look at even some of the preludes to some of that, because that was another part of what was already put in place. But I digress. Does anybody else have a thought or comment about what you heard? And the reason why I wanted to put that in context is to hear a black man say this, that not only served time for standing up for what he believed in, but gave his life to reiterate this kind of thing. And so I really think, again, when we talk about honoring our ancestors, to be able to hear of a black man in present day who literally did certain things, and we're going to go to some of the history of what he actually did. So my point is, for if brothers hear him and are able to ignore what he says, that's going to really begin to show who these black men are or are not. I yield on that point.
Yes.
All right, Chief Elder, you got anything to add? Oh, that's why you couldn't really hear the audio there. All right, yeah, my apologies. Okay, but so yeah, the main points of what matter of fact, let me get your opinion, Sister Empress, because you might have got a different perspective. That was the perspective that I had gained from listening to the ancestor. What was your take on it?
Well, basically, exactly what he said. That
That's what I thought I said.
right, yeah, but
It's your perspective on it because it seemed to be
well,
different.
yeah, well, that's why I wanted to share that because, see, okay, let me say it. Let me put it in this context. Here's where it gets a little different. Dr. Matula Shakur was considered a general. Now, for those who talk about being in the movement or embracing the movement or whatever, there's some things within the movement that are considered to be of a certain type and of accord. So when you hear certain people say certain things, they are bona fide and qualified all across the board in every way you could probably imagine, and then some. So my point is, it is so important to make sure that people know that within this thing we call movement, while it might not be popular or might not be talked about a lot, there's some internal structures, or was some internal structures. People like Dr. Matula Shakur had not only the admiration, but the position of a general. So when you hear certain things, it's coming from a place, we talk about honoring our mother, father, and, things of that nature. So we have to look at who is really holding those posts, who is really the representation of these things. And this is why I'm highlighting this black man, Dr. Matula Shakur. And again, when you hear some of the history, you'll see why. You see. So I'm saying that to say, so you're right, Brother Moomba, in pointing out what, in structuring different things or whatever. But what I'm saying is that at this stage of the game, we have to also now make sure we provide certain types of information. If people do not respond after going through our classes, Poli-Sci 101 and other things, that if they don't respond to that, it's fine with me or fine with us. But guess what? You're going to be showing your cards. You really are. Because this idea now of, I'm about black folks and I'm about this, but yet not in tune to doing the things that are both tradition and in some instances required when it comes to upholding real black man and real black womanhood. And that brother that you just saw, he was in the position to be able to say what he said because he could back it up and did. That's different. I yield.
All right, thank you for that addition. I'm not sure if Brother Khalid, if you was able to hear some of the discourse from our ancestor Baba Mutulu Shakur, and if you had any any takes, any perspectives, additions on that.
We still can't hear him.
That's crazy. Oh wow.
Still can't hear you, brother. Oh wow.
Okay, you go mute. There you go. Oh no, we still don't have no audio. I don't know if it's a device.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to try to
Let's go
come?
to Chief Elder.
All right. Yes. Coming over to Chief Elder. What's some of your thoughts on this?
Uh, can you hear me loud enough? Loud
Yes,
and
sir.
Yeah.
clear?
Hear you loud and clear.
Branching off of what Empress is saying and some of the little extensive research I happened to have been doing a couple of weeks ago. But the last 8 days, I was on a spiritual journey. I couldn't get on any devices or any social media. But from what I seen and heard that was delivered to me by a YouTube video of one of my friends with Khaled, between Khaled and Minister Louis Farrakhan, of some unseen
Oh, that's
footage.
ancestor Khalid Muhammad.
Yes, yes,
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes,
yes,
sir.
yes. That was very deep and interesting and powerful because in my view that he's seen that how Minister Farrakhan respectfully was like changing his tone.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Khaled, he was straight up Black Power. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't compromising with anything. And he even played back some of the things that Minister Farrakhan had said, you know, especially about white folks. And so allowing them to come into you mosque and joining the Nation of Islam. Khaled didn't like that because he said, no, you're either going to be pro-black or you're not going to be pro-black at all. And it is basically and dealing with the past, I say 15 civil rights leaders, black activists, at whatever category you address and identify them as, you know, a special brother Lumumba. And now we have President Emerhim Ray on the front scene. And I've been following him for the last 3 years and seeing, you know, his opposition and seeing his fight and his struggle, but he still is pro-black. You see what I'm saying? He's about not about himself. He's about the people that's around him and his community. And we here in North America need to start thinking a little bit more strategically.
Starting to get an echo.
Yeah, I hear that. Okay. Suffices to say that thinking more strategically means that we're not going to repeat this. Yeah, we can't do it. Because if we do repeat history, that means that we are caught up in egotistic mind. And we don't want the drum majors beating to that tune.
Okay, Brother Mumba, is there any way we can clear this up? Do you know what we need to do?
I mean, only thing I can think of is to try to remove everybody from the room and have them come back in.
Before you do that, let me.
Now your audio's out.
Yeah, but I'm still getting an echo from you.
Yeah, I know. I was just talking about Chief Elder. His audio is no longer.
Right.
All right, family. I'm not sure.
Okay, so maybe if we all come out except for you, and then come back in.
Right, that's what I was saying.
Okay, so everyone that's backstage, go out and come back in. Hopefully that will correct it.
Check. Let me take everybody out. Let me see. Let me check with the family to see if Let me take everybody out first. Let me check with the family to see if there is any. Well, if that cleared things up, if the audio has been restored as far as. Let me check. All right, let me bring folks back on the stage. Check.
Are you hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you okay.
Okay,
I'm not hearing
yep.
the echo now.
Okay, there's Brother Khalid.
Yeah, that seemed to have fixed it. Okay.
Okay, cool, great, wonderful. Okay, moving right along. So we wanted to kind of again focus on what Dr. Matula Shakur was kind of referring to. I wanted to kind of tune in or hone in on that. Brother Mumba, can we go to a little of the clip now? But first, let's see if there's someone else that had a comment. And in the meantime, if you could start queuing up the clip that I was going to use for the first one. But let's see if anyone else has a comment or a thought about this particular topic and certainly what Dr. Matula was just saying. Brother Khalid, can we hear you now? Is your mic working?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh,
yes.
There we go.
All right.
Great. Before we come to Brother Khalid, let me just let Chief Elder finish what he was saying.
Okay.
I couldn't branch off of that because I was having that audio difficulty on my end. I couldn't hear anything that he was speaking of, so I just had to give you my energy and from what I see. But I know it's branching off in the same direction. You see what I'm saying? It's about being about it. You know what I'm saying? The struggle that, all our elders had done to pave the way just for us to be at this point here in time. So,
and Elder, if I may, I just want to add something to something that you just said, because I have to start speaking out even more about certain things, and it's this, and I'm going to keep it brief. When Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad made transition, most asked no questions. Most that talked about how much they loved him, admired him, and all of that, asked no questions.
Right.
They accepted exactly what they were told. And so at some point, we will have to have that conversation as to why did people, with the kind of position that Dr. Khalid was in, what he represented, why was people so easily, so quickly accepting, well, he had a brain aneurysm. He wasn't taking his medication. He wasn't eating right. And that's what you heard, and that was the end of it. And so for me, the enemy saw just how much we really care about our warriors, our generals, our people that really be on that front line. Because I only know of two people primarily that raised any questions about that. Steve Coakley and Alton Maddox. And I'm gonna leave it at there. But that's a topic that really needs to be looked at closer.
I agree with you totally. Right there, because, whether It was beyond circumstance, but at the end of the day, the ones that stand with you on the front lines to be with you to the very beginning. I mean, to the very ending. And from my perspective of what I've been hearing and witnessing on going back to 200 years of supposed to be our independence, you know, where was that for us as melanated? You see what I'm saying? We've been still fighting and struggle way before we hit the shores of North America. And that's why when I spoke earlier that we this time around, because a lot of things has changed, because we had the thought in our mind to make the real change without being compromised is thinking strategically. And that means that you have three divisions or three units that is operating simultaneously to achieve that goal that we all are looking for and desperate to achieve, because we only got one shot at it this time, because we ain't going to be telling another story. Trust me when I say this. We only got one shot at it this time. I yield the rest of my time.
All right. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that addition, Chief Elder. Let me come over to Brother Khalid. You had any additions on this, good brother?
Yeah, I wanted to just say peace to everybody. Thank y'all for having me on. We in this month of Black August. All gusto, full throttle. This is our the flood season. The inundation. We're inundating the people with knowledge. We full throttle with knowledge. All gust. No breaks. So So in regards to the subject at hand, we're in a dire situation where our people are being manipulated or gaslighted into like a gender war kind of situation. And in regards to that, it's a bit of predicated malevolence there. Like I remember watching the Black Panther movie, and I was like, man, why they got the brothers fighting the sisters in the movie, and then they got the Africans fighting the brothers in the States, and that was the theme of the movie. And then it's like now when we look at the world today, we have impending gender war, and then we got FBA doing protests and trying to do things to hurt our brothers and sisters from Haiti and Africa, and all these different divisional aspects that like seem to be almost like coming attractions in these programs that they put to us. In regards to the attack on Black families is like I like to call it, because that's exactly what it is. A document that that's called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. And this document allegedly is almost like an instruction manual for the destruction of the family, in particular the Black family, because the family structure is what keeps people in check and what keeps them from engaging in degeneracy and immoral behavior. So and it also acts as its own economy. It helps to keep more money in our communities. So with the destabilization of the family and the destruction of the family network, it literally makes our children fair game. So in this document that talks about bringing about daycares and nursing homes in particular, of course, we come from an age where, the elders in our family were, I don't want to say the term babysitters, but, we could depend on our elders to take care of our children while we, went out and worked or, did the things that we needed to do for the family. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at that two-step approach, it's like if we can get rid of the elders out of the home, then essentially people will need babysitters. You know what I'm saying? And nursing homes literally gave way to babysitters. So when you think of the influx in babysitters in our communities, it wasn't possible without first getting the people to convince them to put their elders in a nursing home. So, there's always been a strategic, systematic approach to the destruction of the family network. So even when you think about the whole wicked approach of the no man in the home clause, like the irony of that is that I was literally having that conversation with a sister earlier today who had no idea that ever happened. And I was like, yeah, as crazy as that sound, yes, the government had on record on law, or law on record rather, that you can receive benefits and if you get the man out of the home. And of course, they doubled down on it when, our families would, give the projection of the man not being home. So then that led the government to further investigate to make sure that he's not there. And it's of course in some cases, we got over on them and made it seem like the man had left the home, to try to get the money, and unfortunately in a lot of cases, fathers were excommunicated for the family to receive benefits. But not to really get into pointing the blame about who did this, who did that, because that becomes a perpetual argument. But really just looking at the things that happen and how can we move forward past those things, as a collective, because, one of the things that I was saying to the sister is that I'm, close my point here is that, these people that you see online, like these detractors, they have, brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, mothers and fathers, so a lot of it is that people just lack the integrity to stand on business, so to speak, and, to uphold, moral turpitude while they, strive to go viral or what have you. But, a lot of people have been compromised and their morals come secondary to, to their view count.
I say. Thank you for that addition, Brother Kazi.
So let me just jump in for a moment. And Brother Mumba, do we have the other clip ready for Dr. Matula? Okay. I just want to add briefly, and thank you for that, Brother Khalid, and also Chief Elder. This October, well, actually, we've already began with our sister Black Women, Black Girl Rites of Passage. So one of the things that, and this is why I wanted Dr. Matula Shakur to give the message to the brothers, to the Black men, because as sisters, some of us are, in fact, following our orders, or if not orders, following what some of our ancestors said. So with our women and girls, we're setting up kinds of operations because, there's too much ambiguity. And what I mean by that is we know we deal with class struggle. We know this because there's certain concepts, ideas, and principles or whatever that we all do not embrace. Therefore, we have to begin to be very clear about some things and not assume, because I've done that in the past and it was disastrous. I'm assuming that because people certain female was talking about Black stuff and how much, but clueless in reality when it came to real application. So my point is, as women, as sisters, I had a conversation with two Black women earlier today. Big ups to Sister Yvonne. And so, yes, she hit me up with a dynamite sister. But my point is, we're organizing now. And Dr. Matula said it. And because he knew, we're really organizing now so that we can get our women on code. The ones that want to be on code, you see, so that if you're saying that you're about certain things, then sisters have to now agree on certain things. That way we can deal with levels of accountability and other things. But there has to be some clarity about when you say you are black or melanin or whatever term you use, and what the hell does that mean in real time? That has to be identified now. See, and that's what's getting ready to happen. So with the sessions that we have coming up in September and October and up until next year will be designed to do that and then some. And it doesn't mean that we won't be with other sisters or whatever, but we have to have a cadre or cadres or collectives or whatever that we know to the best of our ability that this is what they are about, this is what they stand for, this is what they're striving for, etc. It's got to come down to that. And I'm just saying, brothers, y'all got to do that too, or something like that. And that's what Dr. Matula Shakur was talking about. That's what Dr. Khalid was trying to do. But here's where, for me, it's a little different with the way I'm approaching it for our sisters. We're not discussing religion. That's not a part of being on code for us. That's your business and somebody else's business. We ain't trying to do that. That's where it becomes a little different. I yield.
All right. Just a big thanks for that addition. And again, going back to what I was talking about with the Men of Valor, and so a lot of that framework I was able to develop from the lessons of Dr. Mutulu, Ancestor Mutulu, Ancestor Khalid, Ancestor El Haj Malik El Shabazz, so on and so forth. These are the primary, pillar figures that we utilize in order to have a standard. Okay, so these are the individuals that we're looking to when we're looking at defining what is Black manhood, what is aspects and concepts of divine masculinity. So along with individuals such as the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, our ancestors. So these are what we look to as the models and the standards. So this is those individuals that we're striving towards, kind of embodying that same type of spirit, and so forth. Those organizational structures, and as you said, not dealing with or that not being at the forefront, whatever your religious affiliation, that is for you. When we come together, we put together the 80-20 rule, right? Whereas 80% of the things we have in commonality. So those are the things we're going to focus on. It's 20% of the things that we have differences on, but yet we choose to use that as our main focuses, right? And so with the structure, we're able to formulate it in such a way as, right from the beginning, right from the gate, we're saying these are the tenets, these are the pillars, all right? And these are the things that we have defined. Do you agree with these things? And if so, let's build.
I say. And so, on that note, I just have one suggestion, because one of the things that I made sure that we did on our end in terms of the women, and that was to connect with people who we knew were still with us, that of a certain type. You see, unfortunately, I know we were trying to do that for Men of Valor with Baba Bilal Sunni Ali, because he had agreed to do sessions, private sessions, right? And this is what we're talking about. There are some brothers and sisters, and not many sisters, by the way. I want us to be real clear about that. With what has happened with Black women, unfortunately, it's not like it was. It is nowhere near like it was when you literally you would know of certain Black women of a certain type, race first, and very progressive and things of that nature. Now it's very different. That's a whole nother conversation. My point is, I would strongly suggest that the brothers might want to start doing some sessions with brothers such as Baba Jalil Montague.
Yes, we actually had him on the program before.
Right. No, but I know, but I'm saying for the men to have sessions with, but not public.
Right. And as Chief Elder was saying, there's multiple layers So that was like an introduction with having Baba on. And so, developing those layers. And as we talked about with the vetting process as well. So, there's the introductory level, and then there's an internal level, and then there's a core, a nucleus, right? And so, you know, depending on what your uh, uh, protocols are, as far as how you want to come into the fold, then that would determine what type of information that you're getting, because not everybody is going to get everything on every level, right? So once you pass that perimeter, you come into that internal circle, then we talking about some other lessons being learned, right? And that also is pertaining to self-defense, community defending, right? So these are some other levels that you're not going to get on the surface level, right? And then on the internal nucleus, that is even more of a smaller circle, right? So yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the clip. Let's take a look at the clip, because I think it's important that we share with our extended family some of the history of Dr. Mutulu Shakur.
Ashe, Ashe. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's get into some background history on our illustrious ancestor.
On February 12th, 1986, a man carrying a California driver's license under the name Eugene Allen was walking down a street in West Los Angeles when 4 FBI agents stepped out of unmarked cars and surrounded him. He didn't run, didn't reach for anything, just stood there on the sidewalk while they closed in, like he'd been expecting this moment for 4 years, because he had. The FBI had been hunting this man since 1982. He was number 380 on the Bureau's 10 most wanted fugitives list. He lived under at least 3 aliases, moved through safe houses on both coasts, and stayed invisible in a country that had his face plastered in every post office from New York to California. His real name was Mutulu Shakur, and the reason every hip-hop fan alive has heard the name Shakur, the reason Tupac Amaru Shakur carried that name, that fire, that revolutionary fury in every bar he ever spit, starts with this man, founding member of the Republic of New Africa at 17, co-creator of a medical protocol now used in over 85 countries to treat addiction, director of the National Task Force for COINTELPRO litigation, convicted of masterminding the 1979 prison escape of Assata Shakur, the most wanted woman in America, convicted of planning the 1981 Brinks armored car robbery that left 3 men dead and put $1.6 million in cash into the hands of a revolutionary army, sentenced to 60 years federal, served 36 years and 10 months, and released on compassionate parole in December 2022. Dead 7 months later. But the detail that defines Mutulu Shakur's life, the one that the FBI, the parole board, and the federal judge who sentenced him all acknowledged but couldn't reconcile, is what he built with his hands before they put him in handcuffs, and what happened to it after they took him away. The story most people know about Mutulu Shakur, if they know it at all, is that he was Tupac's stepfather who went to prison for a robbery. I've spent a long time with this story, and what I keep coming back to isn't the robbery or the prison break or even the 4-year manhunt. It's this: the man the government spent a decade hunting was, at the same time, the man who built a medical treatment protocol that's now practiced in over 600 clinics worldwide. In the same hands, the same mind, and nobody, not the prosecutors, not the judge, not the parole board that denied him 9 times, could figure out how both of those things were true at once. By the time he was 29 years old, Mutulu Shakur had co-authored peer-reviewed medical research published in the American Journal of Acupuncture. He held a doctorate in acupuncture from the Quebec Institute, with additional training in China. He treated over 200 patients a day at a single clinic in the South Bronx. He trained more than 100 medical students. He received recognition from the National Institute of Drug Abuse, the National Acupuncture Research Society, and the World Academic Society of Acupuncture. He'd been invited to China to lecture on addiction treatment. The protocol he co-developed 5 acupuncture needles placed in specific points on each ear, targeting the lungs, liver, kidneys, and nervous system, would eventually be adopted by the National Acupuncture Detoxification Association and spread to 85 countries across the globe. That was the man. Now here's where he came from. Born Gerald Wayne Williams on August 8, 1950 in Baltimore, Maryland. His mother, Dolores Williams, was blind. His father, James McMoore, was largely absent. At 7 years old, he moved with his mother and younger sister to Jamaica, Queens. Growing up navigating the social services bureaucracy on behalf of a disabled mother, filling out forms she couldn't read, and sitting in waiting rooms while caseworkers decided what his family deserved, Mutulu later called that his first confrontation with the state. The system didn't operate in the interests of Black people. He learned that before he learned algebra. He attended New York public schools and became politically active as a teenager, joining the Revolutionary Action Movement around 15 or 16 and throwing himself into the Ocean Hill, Brownsville education struggle, where Black parents in Brooklyn were fighting for community control of their own schools. In March of 1968, at 17 years old, he became a founding signatory of the Declaration of Independence of the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa at its founding convention in Detroit. The RNA's vision called for an independent Black nation comprising 5 southern states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, along with $400 billion in reparations from the United States government. A 17-year-old kid from Queens put his name on that document. He meant every word. He changed his name to Mutulu Shakur during the 1970s. The surname Shakur, Arabic for thankful to God, had been adopted as a family name by Saladin Shakur, a Nation of Islam member and associate of Malcolm X, whose biological sons were Lumumba Shakur and Zaid Shakur. Lumumba founded the Harlem Black Panther chapter. Zaid led the Bronx chapter before he was killed in the 1973 New Jersey Turnpike shootout. Mutulu wasn't biologically related to any of them, how he was welcomed into the family through revolutionary bonds, calling Lumumba his brother. The Shakur family operated as both a kinship network and a political dynasty. Some were blood, others were chosen. What unified them was a shared commitment to Black liberation that didn't bend. Lumumba walked a different path. After the Panther 21 trial, where all 13 defendants were acquitted in 45 minutes, he eventually stepped back from armed struggle. Mutulu escalated. That fork between them, between the brother who pulled back and the brother who pushed forward, would shape everything that followed. When Mutulu's children were critically injured in a car accident during the early 70s, said it was activists from Iwo Kuyin, a revolutionary Chinese American organization, who treated them with traditional Chinese medicine. Watching his kids heal through acupuncture, watching needles do what the emergency room couldn't, planted something in him that armed struggle never could have. A father watching his children get better. That's the human moment before the legend takes over. The government would later acknowledge in open court in front of the judge who sentenced him that they had been illegally surveilling Mutulu Shakur for years under COINTELPRO. that they harassed him, spread disinformation about him, and violated his constitutional rights while he was exercising them. They acknowledged all of that, and then they sentenced him to 60 years anyway. But that part of the story comes later. In November of 1970, activists from the Black Panther Party and the Young Lords occupied Lincoln Hospital in the South Bronx, a crumbling, rat-infested facility that locals called the Butcher Shop. Out of that occupation came the Lincoln Detox Center, also known as the People's Drug Program. Mutulu joined as a political education instructor. The South Bronx in the early 70s was drowning in heroin. Entire blocks were hollowed out. Families were collapsing. The city's response was methadone, a synthetic opioid that replaced one addiction with another, kept patients dependent on city clinics, and generated revenue for pharmaceutical companies while solving nothing. Mutulu saw methadone for what it was, a management tool, not a cure. The system wasn't designed to heal Black communities. It was designed to regulate them. His introduction to acupuncture came through Howard Quinn. As fellow activist Walter Bosque del Rio later recalled, he and Mutulu and Panama Alba went down to Chinatown, got acupuncture needles and an acupuncture map, and started learning. They hired Chinese and Japanese acupuncturists to teach them auricular therapy, the treatment of the ear as a microsystem connected to the entire body. Mutulu studied formally in Montreal, trained in China, earned his doctorate, and partnered with psychiatrist Dr. Michael O. Smith to co-develop what became the 5-point auricular protocol. 200 patients a day, 7 days a week for years in a single clinic in the South Bronx. And it worked. Exposed to nothing but 5 thin needles in silence, addicts who'd failed every methadone program in the city were getting clean. Then the protocol didn't require expensive medication or ongoing pharmaceutical dependency. It required trained hands, a quiet room, and about 45 minutes. If you watch my video on Ricky Ross and the CIA's crack pipeline, you already know about the 1982 memorandum that exempted the agency from reporting drug trafficking by its assets for 13 years. That document covered the crack. But a decade earlier, the same institutional indifference applied to heroin, and the South Bronx was ground zero. The federal government wasn't just failing to stop the drug crisis. Elements within it were enabling the supply. Mutulu Shakur was treating the casualties of a war his own government was helping to fuel, and his clinic was winning. That's why they shut it down. On November 27, 1978, Mayor Ed Koch closed the Lincoln Detox Center. The program wasn't destroyed because it failed. It was destroyed because it succeeded outside the system's control. Community-run healthcare, operated by revolutionaries, produced results that embarrassed city agencies and pharmaceutical programs. That's a political threat dressed as a public health success. The mechanism is always the same. When community self-determination works, the institution doesn't adopt it. The institution eliminates it. Mutulu responded by co-founding the Black Acupuncture Advisory Association of North America and opening the Harlem Institute of Acupuncture, where he continued treating thousands of patients and training medical students from 1978 through 1982. The protocol he and Dr. Smith created evolved into the NADA protocol, now practiced in over 600 clinics in the United States and 85 countries worldwide. The documentary Dope is Death, released in 2020, recovers this buried history. Most practitioners who use the protocol today have never heard Mutulu Shakur's name. They insert the same 5 needles into the same 5 points he identified in a South Bronx clinic half a century ago. The medicine survived. The man who created it would spend the next 37 years in a cage. Less than 12 months after Coke shut down Lincoln Detox, Mutulu crossed a line he could never cross. The healer became an operative. Assata Shakur was sitting in the Clinton Correctional Facility for Women in Union Township, New Jersey. She'd been convicted of first-degree murder of New Jersey State Trooper Werner Forster in a 1973 Turnpike shootout that also killed BLA member Zaid Shakur, Mutulu's adopted brother. Her conviction was fiercely contested. No gunshot residue was found on her fingers. No fingerprints were found on any weapon at the scene. The star prosecution witness admitted to perjury before the grand jury. Medical evidence showed she'd been shot in both hands early in the confrontation, making it physically difficult, perhaps impossible, for her to have fired the fatal shots. For the movement, Assata wasn't a convicted murderer. She was a political prisoner, and Mutulu decided to get her out. On November 2nd, 1979, 3 armed BLA members posing as visitors walked into the prison. The New Jersey corrections officials had failed to run identity checks on Assata's visitors, failed to search them before entry. The men drew concealed .45 caliber pistols and a stick of dynamite, seized 2 unarmed correction officers as hostages, compelled staff to release Assata from her cell block, and commandeered a prison transport van. The hostages were released unharmed in a nearby parking lot. No shots fired, no casualties. The operation was financed by stealing $105,000 from a Baumberger's department store in Paramus, New Jersey. Members of the May 19th Communist Organization provided logistical support and waiting vehicles. No shots fired, no witnesses who could identify the operatives for months. The entire thing was planned, financed, and executed with a precision that most law enforcement agencies couldn't match. That isn't luck. That's organizational intelligence operating at an elite level. The same kind of mind that built a medical protocol from scratch, except now pointed in a very different direction. Assata went underground. She lived in Pittsburgh before being smuggled to Cuba in 1984, where Fidel Castro granted her political asylum. She published her autobiography in 1987 and lived in Havana for over 4 decades. In 2013, the FBI placed her on its most wanted terrorist list, the first woman ever designated with a combined $2 million bounty. She died in Havana on September 25th, 2025 at age 78, never recaptured. Through all of this, the escape planning, the underground operations, the robberies that financed the movement, Mutulu was still treating patients at the Harlem Institute of Acupuncture, still training medical students, still seeing 200 people a day. The healer and the operative coexisted in the same body, using the same hands, right up until the morning of October 20th, 1981. After that morning, the healer disappeared. The system Mutulu built for the Brinks operation was designed to be invisible. And for a while, it was. The coalition called itself the Family. Black Liberation Army members handling the armed work, white allies from the May 19th Communist Organization, and former Weather Underground providing logistics and cover. The strategy exploited something most people wouldn't talk about openly: American racial profiling. ABLA members would execute the robbery. Then they transfer into the back of a rented U-Haul truck driven by white M19CO members. Police searching for black suspects wouldn't stop a truck with white faces in the cab. They weaponized racism as an operational tool, and it worked until it didn't. This is where the story shifts. I've spent a long time with the details of what happened on October 20th, 1981. And the thing that changes everything isn't the robbery itself. It's what happened at the roadblock. At approximately 3:55 in the afternoon, a red Chevrolet van pulled alongside a Brinks armored truck in the parking lot of the Nanuet Mall in Nanuet, Rockland County, New York. Armed men rushed out. One fired 2 shotgun blasts at the truck's bulletproof windshield. Another opened fire with an M16 rifle. Brinks guard Peter Page, a 24-year company veteran, was hit multiple times in the neck, arm, and chest. He died where he fell. Guard Joseph Trombino fired 1 shot before rounds nearly severed his arm. The attackers grabbed $1.6 million in cash and fled. At a nearby lot, they made the vehicle switch. BLA members into the back of the U-Haul, white drivers in the cab. But a college student named Sandra Torgerson saw the transfer and called the police. Officers from Nyack and surrounding departments converged and set up a roadblock at the entrance ramp to the New York State Thruway off Route 59. When the U-Haul was stopped, Kathy Boudin, a former Weather Underground member, climbed out of the cab with her hands up. She pleaded innocence, begged the officers to put their guns down. She was a white woman in distress. They lowered their weapons. 6 armed men wearing body armor burst from the back of the U-Haul and opened fire with automatic weapons. Waverly Brown, the first African-American officer in the Nyack Police Department, a Korean War veteran who had served 15 years on the force, was struck by rifle fire. He went down. A gunman walked up to his body on the pavement and fired several more rounds with a 9mm handgun into him at point-blank range. Sergeant Edward O'Grady, a 12-year veteran and Vietnam War veteran, emptied his 6-shot revolver at the attackers. While he was reloading, he was hit by M16 fire. He died on a hospital operating table 90 minutes later. Both men left behind families with 3 children each. A $1.6 million, 3 dead. Think about that math. Kathy Boudin was captured fleeing on foot by an off-duty corrections officer. Judith Alice Clark crashed the getaway Honda. She, David Gilbert, and Samuel Brown were arrested at the crash site. Police recovered $800,000 and a 9mm handgun from the car. Sekou Odinga was captured 3 days later after a shootout in Queens. Mutayari Sundiata was killed in that same gunfight. A crushed bullet from Sergeant O'Grady's revolver was found in his shirt pocket. The dead cop's last shot had found its target after all. Kawasi Balagoon was arrested in January of '82. Marilyn Buck in May of '85. Mutulu Shakur, the last fugitive, was the man standing on that sidewalk in West Los Angeles on February 12th, 1986. End of the road. The RICO trial took 6 months. Judge Charles S. Haight, Jr. presided over the Southern District of New York. The government's case rested heavily on the testimony of Tyrone Ryson, a former family member turned government witness who received $110,000 in material benefits and a reduced 12-year sentence in exchange for his cooperation. Additional evidence included Mutulu's fingerprints on hand-drawn robbery maps, financial ledgers, and a tape-recorded phone conversation. On May 11th, 1988, Mutulu Shakur was convicted on all counts, sentenced to 60 years, recommended no parole. But here's what Judge Haight said before he handed down that sentence. And this is the part that makes this story different from every other conviction you've ever heard about. The judge stated on the record that documents obtained under the Freedom of Information Act demonstrated that Mutulu Shakur had been the subject of illegal surveillance, harassment, and disinformation by the FBI as part of what the judge called that lamented unconstitutional project known as COINTELPRO. He specifically found that Mutulu while exercising his constitutional liberties, had been illegally pursued by federal law enforcement officers. The judge acknowledged the government broke the law targeting him, acknowledged it violated his rights, acknowledged the surveillance was unconstitutional, then sentenced him to 60 years. Let that sit. The parole board used it against him for decades. Every time Mutulu described himself as a victim of COINTELPRO, the very thing a federal judge confirmed was true. The commission cited it as evidence he lacked rehabilitation and was likely to reoffend. The illegal targeting the court acknowledged became the justification for keeping him locked up. The system punished.
So, family, thank you for being patient. I hope that particular information filled in some gaps, if for lack of better terminology, but certainly brought some clarity. A lot of things can now be actually said because various people are no longer here on this planet. And so there's, the capability to go a little more in depth, which is what you just heard. Some of that stuff had not been revealed or repeated. Some of it had, but some of it had not, at least not to that extent. But after Baba Sekou Odinga made transition, it was, agreed amongst the family that there were certain things that could now be released. At any rate, this is why I wanted to share Baba Mutulu Shakur's words in that interview. That was his own words. Yes. And now you see why in doing so, now you see what's behind those words. It's not just words. This is someone who literally, at the age of 17, all the way straight up to the time of his transition to an ancestor, held it down, uncompromisingly so. And so it behooves us to make certain that we honor him, his work, his wishes. So I'm going to leave it at that and open the floor up, Brother Lumumba, please.
All right, indeed. Excellent information and segment that we just heard. With that being said, let me open up the floor for any questions or comments, family, on the information that you have heard thus far. All right, questions or comments, open the floor. Thank you for joining us, Sister Anita. Well, for one, I would say, a lot of information that I was not privy to. So this was, some of the information I did know, but there was, some of the details and, just excellent information. And, I'm glad also kind of the full story is able to be told. And, just how some of us have to wear several different hats, right, as it pertains to freedom, justice, and liberation, and making sure that we're able to be what is needed to be within our community and with our movements and struggle. That dichotomy of the general and the healer, right? I think should not be lost amongst the masses of our people, and I think that's one of the most important aspects. Besides his revolutionary stance, was his impact in actually healing the community, right, from the devastations of the Heron that was flooded, intentionally, by the powers that be, the FBI and the CIA, in conducting their, supposed war on crime, in the same instance that they were helping to fuel some of the interactions, of transporting, right, heroin and then later on crack cocaine. Okay, so this also gives us some other insights into what and who these government agencies actually are, what they do, and what they're willing to do in order to the things that they utilize to justify their means or the means they use to justify their ends. All right, which, as you can see, really has no bounds. All right, so just this is like the stuff of legends, right? This is a movie, right? But at the same time,
Absolutely.
this is real
Yes.
life, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
incredible story.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I say.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments, thoughts? Thank you, Brother Mumba. Anyone else? I mean, after hearing all of that, you all have nothing to say? I mean, I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
what?
I was a little surprised on the silence on that one. Yeah, but
No thoughts, no comments?
all right.
Jump in
Wow.
here, brother
Thank you,
Moses.
brother. Thank you, Brother Moses.
Certainly, we've been in armed struggle and a revolutionary posture, shall we say, forever. I mean, since we were brought here in 1619 or whatever, we've been struggling to be free and self-determined and independent in terms of our pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, and certainly, the means. Some of us are too legit to quit. I guess too legit to quit, but we recognize that we struggle by any means necessary, and this is just documenting the fact, basically. Thank you.
Ashe. Absolutely. So let me take a moment while hopefully someone else is preparing to say something. Let me just take a moment to connect some of the black dots to present day. So in case folk don't know, this system will more than likely produce another drug epidemic, within the next 10 years. And so we're looking at information that, as far as I'm concerned, it will help us to be ready, because the treatment that Dr. Mutulu Shakur developed, it worked, and it's still working. And this is why, even though Brother Moses saying, we've always been in for revolutionary state of mind or state of being, or whatever you want to call it. Because that word for me is an interesting word, and I know where it comes from. I know what school of thought it comes from, but I also know that Brother Malcolm said that most folk they shouldn't even be using that word, because revolution is bloody. You see, so I'm one who, when I use certain words, I'm very careful. But anyway, I digress. The point I'm making is that those of us who see, hear, and have some understanding, we better start doing some training, because some stuff is coming. You got to know this. It's coming. And so we can sit back and just watch and let this stuff happen. But something is going to happen, and it's going to be with drugs. So it behooves us to be as prepared as we possibly can. Those who are interested need to look at the kinds of programs that have come out of Dr. Mutulu Shakur's work. There are people who are still doing it in New York, Atlanta, DC. They're still training. But also those who are interested in addiction counseling, we better start getting this training, because the system is getting ready. You best believe that. And it would be ridiculous for us to continue to act like we don't know what's going to happen. And even though I don't know when, but it's inevitable, because you've seen it over and over, and they're not going to stop. And so I'm just saying again, this is why MWM has been very, very dangerous to this system. Because, and you know, I haven't been saying this until like now, because I'm really at a point where we have to let people know who we really are in real time in terms of our work and commitment. But in looking and listening to what you just heard, the Million Woman March, original, historic, we're the ones that made certain that Sister Sada Shakur's message was brought into the national, international arena. Even, you know, in terms of other than the federal stuff that was being put out by her, for, you know, about her. A Black women's organization started and headed by Black women. You see, when it came to the issue of reparations, we had John Conyers, who, of course, was the one who put in Congress H.R. 40. And we had Sister Janetta Obadeli, whose husband was the president of the Republic of New Africa, who you just heard about. Dr. Mutula Shakur was one of the founders. So my point is that a lot of people didn't pay close attention to some things in terms of how things were really structured to be able to connect what was going on here with crack cocaine, because that was one of our platform issues. That's why we had Congresswoman Maxine Waters, because at the time she was the one that was talking about the reporter who was putting out information, Gary somebody, I forget his name, but he was the one that was really, you know, putting out information about crack cocaine with, you know, Rick, you know, Freedom Rick, all of that. So we had Congresswoman Maxine Waters. So again, this is why MWM has been under attack since the time of its conception, because of the information. We had Malcolm X's daughters as speakers. What part of this did people not really see, except for the enemy? They saw it and did everything they could to suppress, shut it down, sabotage ever since. And so I have to say this now, because with our 30-year anniversary coming, folks need to really understand the nature of the game. You see. So I'm going to stop there. Any other questions or comments?
All right. Let me open up the floor. With that being said, questions or comments, family, with any of the information that you have heard thus far. All right, open the floor.
Peace.
All right, peace. How's everything, Brother Lefty?
I'm all right. I was watching. It was a good video. Sorry for my lateness, but I was really watching the video. It was a really good, intriguing video. Just knowing that he did so much and it's still not recognized is a lot to me. Like a lot of things that in this video I didn't know myself. So I appreciate y'all bringing that to people's awareness, and that's needed. It just we have to be just as studious as the brother was, as far as, you know, just educating ourselves. We don't have to rely on the system. We can create our own.
That's right.
That's what that was an example of Brother Shakur.
Yeah.
And the network that he had, as far as being able to, you know, plan and execute the breaking out of Sister Shakur Asada. So, you know, that takes, you know, it's a brilliant mind, and you have to recognize genius when you see it. And I just want to get on here just to say that, because that was genius in the making. And we can mimic that and do better. You know, that was just the ground. You know, that's just the base foundation. He you know, he set the blueprint for stuff that we can improve upon and make better. So I appreciate y'all for bringing that to the stage.
Ashe, thank you, Brother Lefty. I mean, this is what it's about, and this is what many of them did. And, you know, we're going to be showing, conveying, and demonstrating some of the interactions this is the kind of communities we used to have. This is why it's so important that we continue to fight for Mumia Abu Jamal, because he was a part of some of these networks. You see, he had the external thing of being a journalist, recognized journalist, etc., etc. But in many circles, he was well respected. You see, so this is how we're able now to differentiate certain things, because we're being infiltrated all across the board because people are not asking questions. They're not really examining who's coming into, and I know because it happened to me, wasn't examining close enough who I was letting into the organization, to some of the structures. But fortunately, before they got in too deep, they exposed themselves. But as you saw in the film, in the video, a member of the family sold them out for a lesser sentence. See, and this is the kind of stuff that's been going on for a while. So, I don't want to go deep into that right now, but I'm just saying we have learned some things since some of the stuff has happened. Best believe we've learned some things. But there are now, shall we say, modes of operations. For those who do not know, we have Baba Jalil Montague with us. Oh, by the way, he'll be joining us for part 2 on Monday, I think, Monday the 10th. But we had him with us. Right. Last week, he'll be doing part 2 this week. He was BLA, Black Liberation Army. He told us about what he did. And he makes no, he doesn't try to hide anything, you see. And then in going in, the organizing that he did inside, which is amazing, of the work that he and others were able to do while inside. You see, so here we have someone that served 49 years that came out and is now doing all kinds of work still. And so one of the questions that we asked the other evening was his advice and insight into what if an entity wanted to do something that might have been similar to Black Liberation Army. Yeah, of course, we couldn't go in depth to that, but just enough to just, and he did. He gave us, he gave us some insight. One is study. And see, this is how you're also now able to tell certain people, because a lot of their information is coming from YouTube, TikTok, a few articles here and there, but they're not really critically studying. And that was key for folk coming into the movement. It was mandatory. Group study too, not just independent. But anyway, and these are some of the things that MWM will be reactivating and building our sisterhood and getting sisters on code. Because all that other stuff is fluff. A lot of that other stuff is fluff. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
All right. Over the floor once again for any additional questions or comments before we move forward. Floor is open, family. Questions, board, comments.
And thank you again for that one, Brother Lefty.
I say.
All righty.
So one of the things I'll add in really quickly is that, they mentioned the brother, Dr. Carlos, and I had the privilege of actually sitting in on that class. So I actually participated in one of those classes, that 5-point reticulum. So they actually use what they call acupressure for that type of detoxification.
You got it done to you?
Say it again.
You got it done to you?
No, I was in a class.
Oh, okay.
That was actually teaching it.
They got somewhere in Philly we can get it done at?
I know there's acupuncture places in
Right,
Philly.
but
I'm not sure.
do they use Matula's 5 point
Right.
system?
I'm not
Yes.
sure about that.
Well, yeah, Dr. Kokai Patterson, we've been working on doing classes for Philly. And again, unfortunately, there was not enough people that wanted to really commit themselves to the classes. And it's structured in a certain way. There has to be X amount of people involved. So maybe only like 7 or 10, something like that. We couldn't even get serious 7 or 10, whatever the number was at that time. But brother,
I can get
Dr.
a serious 7.
Right, but I'm just saying, brother, these are some of the things we've been working on for the past couple of years. And people talk, but they don't really step up and do the work. And I can prove it, right? Because, people say I send out too much information. They don't know I do that for a reason. Beyond, just that I just don't have nothing else to do or something. But I send out information because I want to make sure that people know these things. And at some point, they can't say they didn't know. Well, I didn't know about that. No, Negro, yes, you did. And because, so this is why we have been very consistent and on point with certain things, because a lot of people in Philly in particular that be talking stuff about, black folk, but then when it comes time to start building, they ain't like, they got all other kind of excuses.
I just said I can get 7 serious people.
Right. Okay. Well,
we could try. We could revisit. It's always,
okay. Let's do it this week
stuff.
because right as we speak, well, they probably finished now. They just did a session in Atlanta paying tribute to Dr. Matula. There is a society, for lack of a better word, a Black acupuncturist group. And they got chapters in 3 or 4 cities. So let's get together this week. I'll talk to Dr. Kokai and, we'll because he was the one when Dr. Matula came out. He was very ill. That's why they let him out because it was compassionate release because he was dying.
Right.
And so Dr. Dr. Kokai and other students took care of him and, at least, made him as comfortable and as they could and so forth and so on. But anyway, so yeah, let's talk later this week and let's see what we can do.
Right.
All right, Ashe. All right, thank you for that addition, Brother Lefty and Sister Empress. All right. Okay, I got to see if we got Sister Anita Bell coming in. Her mic was not functioning previously, so we could see if things have cleared up with the audio. Sister Anita, are you there?
Yes. Can
okay.
you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, good. Yes. I guess y'all are too kind. Oh boy, almost be distracted. But no, part of what I wanted to bring to the table when listening to the testimony about Matula Shakur is that the plan was after slavery not to pay reparations, but to genocide us. So that still seems to be plan A all along. And when you see things like the crack cocaine epidemic that Gary Webb was the name of the reporter that
yes, thank you, Sister Anita. Yep.
yes,
right.
wrote Dark Alliance and published that series about Freeway Wiki Waltz in the San Jose Mercury News. And that started the lawsuits that I also pursued in other states besides California. And those lawsuits became the Nicaraguan Contras narcotics trafficking litigation. And some of the work that has been going on just on that genocide complaint that, of course, the United States does not find itself guilty of any wrongdoing and therefore can make itself above the law and not subject to the International Court of Justice anyway, because all of those things are the same impact from the 1990s that you see going forward even to this day, when there may be a complaint of Black genocide or any kind of genocide anywhere in the world, whether we're talking about Palestine, Sudan, Congo, wherever that genocide is and the United States is implicated as part of it, they make themselves above that law and say that that anti-genocide law does not apply to us for whatever reason. They don't bring themselves subject to it. And that does create what you call injustice, where there's no justice. That means it invites judgment from other realms. And so talking about the self-help, I like to call it, that that Shakur exercised by seeing a unjust system railroad a political prisoner, and then I call it exercising self-help in freeing her from that bondage, and then making sure to get her into asylum in a safe place like Havana. So that is a very fascinating story, to be able to hear that a hands that can heal also can design those kinds of self-help plans, to make sure that at least someone gets justice. He pretty much sacrificed himself, but someone got justice. And that's the beautiful testimony about the story of his life that we heard today.
I say.
Wow, thank you, Sister Anita. Quick sidebar, just to kind of, in response to Sister Anita and also in another manner. So we're going to demonstrate the real power of the Black woman in the next year. So we saw how Black women were able to galvanize themselves in support of a presidential candidate, right? So I'm not going to belabor that issue. But here's where it gets very interesting. And we haven't shared this anywhere else. So New Day family, you're getting it first. So when we start our session in a month or so, we created a component called Black Women for Repair / for Reparations, R4J. That's our formula. And with that, as we organize, one of the elements or one of the initiatives is going to be to quiz or survey U.S. corporations. And in doing so, we'll just ask them, do you support reparations for our people here in the U.S.? So So when we send these letters to the various corporations in North America, I don't care if it's Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, you name it, any product that Black folks buy. See, here comes the organizing that some are taught based on the history of our people. So to have just a little quiz, a little survey, do you support reparations? You know, they'll get some other information, basic information, but the question will be, do you support reparations for African people of African descent, descendants of enslaved Africans? We've been very specific about this. And so they just need to say yes or no. And then the other question is, if yes, are you willing to support? Very simple. Now, that puts it in writing on paper that HP or Dell or whatever, they said yes, or this one said no. So now, as Black women, we now know what product to purchase or to not purchase. See, now the game gets interesting. So going back to what Sister Anita said, we know that on the government level, various entities are going to be continue to fight against this position of us being compensated, of us obtaining remedies. Okay, let's play another way. Let's play with the corporations in such a way where the possibility of their revenue streams becomes threatened. This is what organizing can do, you see, and they knew this from day one after the Million Woman March was presented into the public. They knew that that could happen, you see. And the reason why they knew that could happen, let me just share a little story. The U.S. government and the South African government said that Mother Winnie Mandela could not leave South Africa because she was due to go to trial a few weeks after the Million Woman March. And so the governments were saying she could not leave South Africa. Now, I'm not going to go into details how some of that happened because people got different stories, but I know one that they don't know. Anyway, my point is, when you start letting people know that you have the capability to mobilize people in terms of how to spend their dollars, the game gets changed. And everyone knows, based on what they did with the presidential nominee or whatever, that Black women do have a certain capability if they're organized. Now, unfortunately, some of that goes in a direction that you don't want to go. However, this is very different because the time that we're in right now, people are a little fed up with certain things. So to poll the American corporations in terms of just what is your yes or no, that changes the game. And watch it happen.
All right.
What if they say they support Black Lives Matter?
What'd you say, Brother Lefty?
They say they support Black Lives Matter, so that's
that's fine. But Black Lives Matter. Listen. Again, we're the largest gathering in the world of any women anywhere. See, this is why I said people don't understand cards when it comes to other kind of dealings. So when you have a historical base, whether people like this or not, it's leverage to put in more than 2 decades of consistent work without corporate sponsoring, without government, whatever. Guess what? And the corruption that is now connected to Black Lives Matter, they can run that all they want to. Anyway.
And in addition to that still wouldn't answer the question whether y'all support reparations work or not. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the question. That's great. You support Black Lives Matter, good for you. The question is, again, do you support reparations work?
Yes. And lastly, on August the 23rd of this month, MWM and our affiliates will issue a message from the grassroots to the 123 country members of the United Nations. A letter, or rather a note of thanks and appreciation. Now, I'm not going into detail, but if Black Lives Matter can do that, then okay.
All right. So with that being said, we're going to open the floor once again for any questions or comments before we move forward to the next segment. All right, floor is open, family, questions or comments with any of the information that you heard thus far.
Brother Moses here.
Yes, sir, Brother Moses. You got the floor.
Yeah, I think, the Empress, I understand what she's saying in terms of earlier when she was talking about the need for comprehensive understanding of the problems that we're facing with. Because we have to go into detail sometimes in order for people to understand what we're talking about. But nevertheless, we the failure to the failure the 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 mistake of omission, not saying things that should be said in a timely manner. That's the key to our downfall, I think. That we don't speak up. We need to combat liberalism, letting things slide, let things go. And when we hear thoughts that are incorrect and are actually unjust and unfair, and so I understand why the Empress, lays out such long and comprehensive writings when she addresses the meetings and stuff, because
Yes,
that's
sir.
the sin of omission is the greatest sin you can have, almost. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Moses. And again, as quiet as it's kept, family, there, you know, there are a few elders who I've sat with and have helped me in my growth and development. And Brother Moses, I've spent a little time with Baba Pete, right? And so he's a writer. He's an avid writer. See, again, there are certain people that I listen to. I don't listen to anybody. There's certain people that I do listen to. And Baba Pete Bailey, who was with Brother Malcolm, who was the editor for Brother Malcolm's newsletter. It wasn't a newspaper at that time, it was a newsletter, who traveled with Brother Malcolm. So, to write and to do certain things, some of it is even not what I would personally want to do, to be honest with you. But I've been given instructions. Baba Battle, Reedman Battle, who was the President General of the UNIA, told me to do some things as my elder. See, this is stuff that people don't understand about certain modes of operations. When you have elders that you are either connected to or close to, at some point, if the relationship is real, then you get assignments or you get information that you're responsible for, if in fact you move into that kind of position. So as quiet as it's been kept, there's certain things that I had to do or had not to do because of either the advice or the direction. And so again, thank you for that, Brother Moses, because there's certain things I really couldn't go into at other times. And now with MWM 30 coming, I've been given the liberty to be even more, shall I say, in your face than before. Because that timing is now here. So, absolutely. Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, we're going to go to one more clip on Dr. Batula. This is very brief, and this is, of course, I don't like the word stepson. I know that's what, people say, but you also heard it mentioned, this was a the idea, this is why you hear me say extended family a lot, because that's how I was taught. When you're just dealing with an organization, anyway, so this was the person who was in Tupac's life for a period of time that impacted his life. That's why when you hear him in his raps, even though it got somewhere else after a while or whatever for different reasons, but fundamentally, he had some teachers that was no joke at all. So we're going to play this brief clip, and this is Brother Tupac talking about Dr. Matula Shakur. And again, as in with the other clip, what the brother said was, Anybody that's in rap or hip hop that's worth a dime or worth anything, they know the name Dr. Matula Shakur because Tupac Shakur, made sure. So this is Brother Tupac.
Tulu Shakur, Geronimo.
Well, because of Tulu Shakur and Geronimo Pratt are in jail, things that are political have nothing to do with why a man should be sent to jail. Both of them are innocent and they're behind bars for the rest of their lives, crimes they haven't committed. Matula Shakur right now is in solitary confinement. You know what I'm saying? Just because he is organizing other prisoners inside the prison. So that's not political. What is? I mean, to be sent to be by yourself in the hole because you're organizing black prisoners to be united and not to be crippling in blood just to be united. Why would they put you in solitary confinement? That's political prison. So I like to think my job out here is to bring some light to that.
I got you in my heart till the day I die. Think of the damage we could do if we wasn't high. Can you picture me low? It's a thug's rap. Political contracts and blood baths. From a Tulu Shakur up in the Rockies, though they got you. I never let them stop me. The struggle continues. Tulu Shakur.
Okay. And for those who do not know, and most don't because it wasn't something that was made very public for a minute, the Thug Life actually that was a coordination. That was being coordinated. That wasn't just something that most people think, there's some gang stuff or what. No, there's a lot more to it than that. Rest believe, and you can now learn more about it. But that was being coordinated with brothers inside to begin to connect with brothers who were in the gangs. And Tupac was going to be instrumental in connecting that. You see. But, of course, people put out other kind of information or misinformation. But the Thug Life thing came from, to a great extent, from what I was told, Dr. Matula Shakur, in terms of organizing and doing certain things to get young brothers ready and more aware, et cetera, et cetera. And there was, of course, a discussion or whatever of Tupac leaving the scene or the interactions that he was involved in at that time. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, right?
Peace.
All right, so moving right along. Go ahead, brother.
So I definitely wanted to comment on this because this is my era. I grew up on Tupac.
Okay.
And if you hear White Man's World on the Machiavelli album, you'll like he explains his whole stance in that whole song.
Yeah.
That Thug Life is the same thing with Nipsey with the Crenshaw thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was uniting people.
Mm-hmm.
They got rid of Fred Hampton for the same reason.
That's right. Yep.
He was uniting the people. He was crossing what they call, lines that wouldn't usually be crossed.
Mm-hmm.
He was blending. And whenever you unite the people and organize across racial and other religious and certain backgrounds, the system starts glitching and it doesn't understand. Because like Tupac, like Nipsey, like Prince, Michael Jackson, they were all anomalies to the system. They did their own thing. So that's where whenever you see them attacking our people, we should be able to defend them. And that's the only thing I have an issue with is the fact that, Mumia is still in jail. Like he should not be in jail based on all this TikTok AI information. Like we should be able to get him out like tomorrow. And it's a shame that he's still in there. But based on they attack us, and we should have a defense for that, and that's what's needed. And I appreciate things like programs like this that can ignite the flame of the next defense mechanism.
Okay. So with that said, Brother Lefty, just so you know, certain things that happened to help Mumia over the years, some of that was coordinated both local, national, and international. And so now with us connecting to 123 countries, because on August the 23rd, what we will be presenting is our Independent Commission on Black Human Rights. And with that, to request ongoing meetings whenever possible with the country representatives that signed onto that resolution so that we can begin to determine what steps can we now take to further things. So with that said, once that kind of stuff becomes established in those kinds of arenas, it enables conversations to occur. And unfortunately, sometimes it has to be behind the scenes for things to happen. For example, we had Brother Charles Barron and his wife with us. They were very instrumental in getting getting some paperwork signed that helped Brother Jalil Montague get out. So what I'm saying is, it's one thing for, we know that our brothers shouldn't have been in there in the first place and definitely should not have taken that long or whatever. But what we also know is that most of our people, and I'm talking about the ones that claim to be conscious or down with stuff, they do next to nothing to help our political prisoners. And see, this is the kind of stuff that, going back to what Brother Moses said, see, this is the kind of stuff that got to be dealt with and talked about. Because how can folks be talking about, oh, yeah, I love black people, and I'm down with this, and I'm down with that. And yet, when people step up to defend us or to fight for us, we just let them go down and don't try to help them. And that's what has happened over the years. If you ask most folk who say they're conscious or down with some black stuff, ask them what have they done to help our political prisoners. That will tell you right there the real deal. So we can talk about, well, this, things shouldn't be like this, or it should be, but what we know is this: most are not going to do anything to really help. This we know. This is why we have now come up with other strategies. And it has to be some other moves made at this point in time. And that's what's getting ready to happen. This that we're doing on August the 23rd, we have put it out there to thousands of folk. Even have asked artists to step up and join us. And the response has been very minimum. So that's why we know, without a doubt, that folks be talking a lot of stuff, but please, until they hear that, some big name or some big money or whatever is in the game, they ain't budging. Most of them. So we have to deal with reality now. And we are.
I just wanted to thank you for that additions, Brother Lefty and Sister Indeed. And it's clear seeing some of the recent reports that we are moving in the right directions. This is one of the latest updates for Baba Mumia Abu-Jamal. This is coming from The Guardian. In prison, writer Mumia Abu-Jamal seeks UN intervention after 4 years behind bars.
We are.
Asked a UN panel to review his detention after U.S. legal avenues were exhausted. So this is some of the latest as far as his legal teams pushing to have the case reviewed by the United Nations. So we're right on track with that.
There it is. See, again, by being organized on the grassroots level, and we are the only entity at this time to approach it in that manner. There's a lot of groups doing things, but what we're saying as a priority, our position and mission is to educate, edify organize and mobilize the masses of our people in regards to the issue of human rights violations. And so this month, we'll be hitting the streets. I already have a couple of sisters. We're going to be at certain locations towards the end of the month after we do the 23rd to begin to be, Philly has, and New York does too, a few other places. They have like, train stops that, that a lot of our people, travel through or during the course of the day, going to work, coming from work, going to school or whatever. So to just give out some information, a pamphlet, a flyer, basic stuff. That's what we're talking about doing, so that our people, so that they will begin to get more familiar with what we're talking about, because we talk to each other. But the masses of our people, they don't know. We talking about reparation. They looking at us like, what are you talking about? I mean, they're hearing it more so now, but it's still not concrete. It's still not clear. And to get out in our communities and making certain, put something in their hand. If they throw it away, okay, whatever. But there's a power and there's a tradition in that.
I say.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brother Moses.
When the tie hits, hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Moses.
When the tie hits the road, we have to get personal about this stuff and concrete about this stuff. For instance, when Bradley Manning was a prisoner, Mamiya was a prisoner. But with Bradley Manning at the time was a burning issue of the hour, and Medea Benjamin bought me the T-shirt that I wore for Bradley Manning's imprisonment. When the Cuban Five were in jail, the Answer Coalition supplied T-shirts for the Cuban Five, which I wore. I can't get a Mamiya T-shirt from anybody.
Well, I can only say this, Brother Moses, that with the work that we're doing, the focus has had to be on what it is that we've been doing to build. And at this point, there are groups that all they do is Mumia, right? Or something else. That's all they do. That's not us. We're multifaceted, and here's the reality. We don't get grants. We don't get corporate sponsoring. So we have something called $2 freaking Tuesday. Every week we ask people, can you just, give us $2? You see, they wouldn't even do that. So we do the best we can with what we have. And until now, I personally wasn't given permission to do certain things when it came to generating revenue. Now we can do that and not wait for people, not ask people, none of that. That's not going to be happening because we're getting ready to produce our own line of goods. There'll be a fair exchange for whatever we get now. We're not even asking people. If you want to donate, that's fine. But we ain't even asking you that like that now. Because we already know. Because we already tried that. So now we create things that generate revenue. Brother Lumumba has created our first new store. People can go online. They can purchase a cup. They can purchase a case for your phone. They can purchase a mat if you do yoga or exercise. This is a fair exchange. We ain't asking you to do nothing. Do some business with us. See, because we done did the other stuff. Asking people, out of goodness, could you help? They ain't doing it. So cool. We're done with that one now. All right. So I'm just saying again, you have 3 groups that are that's their name. Something for Mumia, contact them. Right, yeah, that's all they do. We're building a movement, and it takes a lot of work. StreamYard is not free. Zoom is not free. Blog Talk wasn't free. But we didn't ask nobody to do nothing on none of that. You see? So, you know, you want to get personal? Let's get personal. So we have products now, and we're going to have more. We'd appreciate if folks want to purchase the product or products. We got t-shirts. But at this particular time, our focus has to be on continuing to build this particular piece. There's other things that will come. We got things that we're going to do specifically for movement. We had to stop the campaigns that we were doing because people wasn't supporting them. All these college professors and educators, when we was working on the petition or the Mumia Pulitzer Prize or Nobel Prize, people wouldn't even pass on the information. So we had to discontinue until we started putting some other pieces in place. So now we can get more of an international involvement because the Negroes here, they wasn't listening. They weren't even participating. And all we were asking them to do was to write a letter. Because to be required for a Pulitzer or at that point it was a Nobel, all they had to do was write a letter. They wouldn't even do that. And then other folks wouldn't even share it. So if we're going to get real, let's get real all across the board. For real. I yield.
All right. And in addition, you know, as far as the store is concerned, folks can go to thebeacongoodsservices.com. I'll put that in the chat, thebeacongoodsservices.com, in order to support in that manner and, you know, being able to purchase merchandise, all right, which would be able to help us to further these organizational efforts. And I am working on a line of t-shirts for political prisoners, but I have to coordinate with you know, some of these groups, organizations, and you know, some of the you know, people that are in certain strategic positions to make sure that, you know, I have the proper authorization in order to do so. All right, so working on that as well simultaneously. First and foremost, though, I was working on the official MWM merch line to help to make sure that we can do programs like this and continue those on, right? And fundraising efforts to make sure we can have the logistics things that we need, okay, in order to make that trip on August 23rd, all right, and things of that nature. So, you know, all of these things, you know, as said, are, you know, cost money. They take funds in order to do so. They take fundraising in order to do so. So these are the current iterations mechanisms that we're utilizing in order to make these things happen. All right, because most of this, as being said, is, you know, coming straight out of our pockets. All right, been done from the muscle. All right, from the mud, as they say. All right. Okay. So with that being said, we open the floor one more again for any questions or comments before we move on. And thank you for that addition, Baba Moses.
All right. Well, we're going to get ready to close out. We just have one more brief clip. This August 8th is also the commemoration of the first infamous confrontation that took place here in Philadelphia with the MOVE organization. It was August 8th, 1978, that the first confrontation for Philadelphia took place with the MOVE organization and the city of Philadelphia police under the reign of the notorious police commissioner, Frank Rizzo. And so that happened on this day, August 8th, 1978. So we just have one brief clip that we wanted to play in recognition of that. Of course, the Move 9 is what they were ended up being called. With this being Black August, we thought, of course, this is appropriate time to also share that information. The Move 9 are all out. Two of them, unfortunately, died or may transition while they were still incarcerated, but the rest of the Move 9 were in fact released. A couple of them have also made transitions since then being after being released, Delbert Africa being one. Janet and Janine are still very active. We were going to have them with us tonight, but they're on the road right now. But of course, they are often with us, particularly at times for recognizing specific dates and so forth. So again, we just wanted to share with you that history for today. And again, all of them served 40 plus years. Okay.
Right, all right.
Why August 8th, 1978 happened. So I'll let Carlos talk about that.
May 20th, it was a strategy by John Africa to confront the city of Philadelphia for the unjustly beatings, murders that was going on in the MOVE organization by police.
Wow.
By the police, where MOVE women had babies kicked out their stomach, babies were killed, by the police attacking our headquarters. We had women that suffered miscarriages during, court procedures and stuff in the courtrooms in City Hall in Philadelphia. And it got to the point where we was going to tolerate that anymore. And if they did it this time, it would be done with the whole world to see. The whole world would see it. And believe me, when we came out with our guns and everything, doing that confrontation, that armed confrontation, it brought worldwide attention. And the media, it lasted for a whole year, that confrontation. And one of the main things that I remember with Phil and Dell and other MOVE members was putting out was that competition was coordinated by John Africa, the greatest strategist ever to live, past and present, and that our people that were in state prison at the time be released unconditionally and be brought to MOVE headquarters in a helicopter with then President Jimmy Carter in it. And I remember them officials that Rizzo had there, the police commissioners and all, the DAs and everything. And they told Delbert and Phil was doing most of the negotiating back then. Delbert Africa and Phil Africa. And I remember hearing them officials saying that we would kill every last one of you motherfuckers before we let any of your people out of jail.
Wow.
That demand would never be met. And that was one of the demands and the first demand. And I remember from that day to a year later, our people came home, released from state prison unconditionally. They did come home. And we was let go and was allowed to be walk around MOVE headquarters without being arrested.
Wow.
And this is something that the city literally tried to erase from the history books of Philadelphia, because never in the history of Philadelphia or the United States, as far as I know, political prisoners were released unconditionally, demand that they be released unconditionally because the unjust imprisonment that they was in jail for, by this government.
Wow.
But the thing is that it went on for a year, and the last 2 months before the confrontation was over, before our people were released, Rizzo put a blockade up and MOVE headquarters that nobody could come in and bring us food, water, whatever. Our water was cut off, our food was cut off, and everything. It was called a starvation blockade.
So what did they do? Set that up in the middle of the street?
They set that up in the whole block for blocks, like three or four blocks around.
Cordoned it off, wouldn't allow anybody bringing water.
And
food.
people that tried to come in were attacked
And arrested.
and arrested. People that tried.
And this all stems from you guys just speaking out.
Speaking about the unjust imprisonment of our brothers and sisters, and the Janine baby was killed on March 28th, 76.
It came about by Moon putting out the truth and the teaching of John Africa, because these people feel threatened by truth. They felt threatened by John Africa because it exposed them over the brutality, the sadism, everything that they did to Move and others, because we didn't just take a position for Move, we took a position for everything that was wrong in the system. John Africa attacked every facet of this system, and they wanted to get rid of us. They wanted to kill us. That's what August 8th was about. There wasn't any type of mercy there. There wasn't any kind of let's take it easy. They tried to kill us. Definitely tried to kill us.
So today is August 8th, right? So we're here to talk about August 8th. The morning of August 8th, did it start off like any normal morning? Did they try to give you guys notice to kind of leave? How did it start?
No, they tried to sneak up on us because I was walking around putting out water and food for the dogs, and I looked up and they were there. They were maybe about from here to the back of the house.
Okay.
And you're talking over 600 cops. Right? Then they start setting up. I let everybody know they start setting up.
How many adults was in the house?
12.
I think
12 or 13.
Yeah.
12.
I think you mentioned 12 on August 8th.
So they had 600 police for 12 adults?
Yeah.
12 adults, a bunch of kids, and animals.
Okay. So you saw them walking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, once everybody knew, we started taking the animals down in the basement to protect them. For myself, I didn't expect them to do what they did. But then the media began to set up. And the first thing they did, they brought these bulldozers in. And they knocked down our fence. And the next thing was I forgot what they call it, but it's like
a cherry crane.
A what?
Cherry picker crane.
Knocked out the window.
Punch out the windows. Now, at that point, I think Miguel came out on the porch because the dog ran up. And I just happened to look up in the apartment complex across, and there was a guy behind a 50 caliber. That's why I asked you about that.
Okay. So you see him? Did they announce that there? Did they try to make an arrest? Did they say anything? Or they just begin to start knocking stuff down?
No, they I don't remember them.
They didn't say anything until after they tore down the fence, knocked out the windows, had the cops come in, because we were all in the basement, and we could hear the cops walking around the house above us, and they cut a hole in the floor so that they could see in the basement. Then after they set all that up, then O'Neill gets on the bullhorn and says, move, surrender. You got 15 minutes to surrender, or we're coming in.
Now, who was O'Neill?
O'Neill.
He was the police commissioner at the time.
Okay.
One thing I want to make clear, it was two houses, 309, 307.
Mm-hmm.
We were in 309 basement. They were in 307.
Who stayed?
The police.
Okay.
They were in 307, and they were in all the other 3 floors of 309.
Okay.
They started off with the smoke, no, the water. Start off with the water, using the water hoses on us.
How was they getting it in? Through that hole?
Through the basement window they had punched out.
Okay, so they're shooting water into the basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
With not just hoses, they call them deluge guns. They're like a stand a cannon would be on, and they got these power hoses that sit on top of it. So it's even more extreme than the hoses you saw them use during the 60s. These are power guns that shoot.
Like the ones they used on the marches for the civil rights movement down south, and they was shooting, they was falling. And these were even more stronger,
bigger.
Okay,
and it was aimed at.
It was so much power coming out of those hoses. It was lifting up railroad ties and shooting them back through the window where we was in the basement. That's how much power was coming in. Well, I don't even want to call it power. That's how much viciousness, the force that was coming in against us.
Okay, so they're shooting water, all right? They know there's kids in this house.
Oh, they know it.
They wasn't concerned with that. Because then the smoke grenades, tear gas, and the water became so high. Because it was like this, right? And I looked up, and that's what made me look up. The hole in the floor is right over top of my head, and there's 4 or 5 cops pointing their guns down at me. So at that point, I said goodbye to my family. You know what I mean?
All right, all right.
All righty.
All right, there you have it, family, to report from the remaining members of the Move 9 talking about the August 8th confrontation. All right, and acts of police terrorism. So this is just some of the ordeals that our people, were facing and had to face. Okay, and still continuing to fight for freedom, justice, and liberation as we commemorate once again Black August on the commemoration of the original Move confrontation.
Yes. And Brother Moon, before we close out, just want to connect the black dots. So that was 1978. This is when Philadelphia Black community really began to kind of go downhill. So the system put a fear into the Black community here in Philadelphia because there was a lot of activism, there was a lot of stuff going on, and if you can imagine 600 police people, it was horrendous. I was a student, and we would take food because for the first few days of the blockade, it was called the blockade, they would allow, the ministers had agreed, had worked with the city people to allow for food to be brought in because they had children in there. And so the whole thing was they weren't going to let them out. They was not going to let any of the Move people out. They were going to arrest them or whatever. And so they decided they were not going to come out. So the ministers agreed, talk with whomever, and it was agreed that, that people could bring food. So I was a student. We would bring food to the barricade, food and water, right? So now, and again, as a student, we did stuff in our communities that were politically, motivated. So, okay, so the point is this, that is what began to put a dent in Black stuff in Philadelphia once that happened, because it just created a fear. It created, all kind of trauma, you name it. Now that's 78, right? Then came 81. '81 is when Mumia, because see, remember, that's how it happened. Mumia started reporting on what happened on August 8th. Because once the MOVE folks did come out and was captured and then went to trial and all of that, they was given 100 years. When it was in fact not proven at all that they had shot any gun, even though they had there was no evidence of any of their weapons being shot. In fact, a couple of the weapons couldn't be shot, because they didn't work. And so Mumia had did investigative work and was writing. He was a prolific writer. He was writing about it. And they warned him, they said, look, stop, don't keep doing this. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose credibility, blah, blah, blah. And Mumia wouldn't stop. So now this happened in '78. Mumia is on top in terms of being, he's considered one of the best journalists in Philadelphia. They wrote him up in the Philadelphia Magazine as one of the top up-and-coming people in Philadelphia. That's 80. 81. What happens? He can't get a job. He's driving the cab to survive for his family. And the next thing you know, there's a shootout. Mumia is arrested, charged with unaliving a police officer, just like the MOVE family or people did. So you have to see the connection here. 78 and then 81. And then after 81, the bomb is dropped in 85. And Philly ain't been right since. Black folks, that is. This is important. This is Black August. Connect these dots, y'all. So we're going to leave with that.
All right. Absolutely. All right, family. So we're going to get ready to close out this session for this evening. Thank you all for joining us for this special August 8th Black August edition of New Day Resurrection and Liberation. As we close out, I want to definitely give thanks first and foremost to the Most High Creator, Creatress. Give thanks to the ancestors and the elders, those who have shed blood, sweat, and tears and paved the way to allow us to be here today. I want to thank you all once again. Thank you for your time, energy, and effort, dedication, determination, and discipline. I want to say also, for additional information, you can email nationalmwm@aol.com. That's nationalmwm@aol.com. You can also email powerman2282@gmail.com. That's powerman2282@gmail.com. You can also text 267-636-3802. The number again is 267-636-3802. All right. Support grassroots movement work as well as independent Black media, family. All right. So we can continue to bring these programs forward and making sure that the masses of our people are more empowered, all right, more organized, and so that we can make the proper adjustments and changes that we need to further push for freedom, justice, and liberation. All right. Also, tap in with us tomorrow, 3 p.m. For our Ubuntu Justice Initiative. All right, meeting, coordinating, and organizing meeting. All right. You can also donate at Cash App at $HOT1111. Also on PayPal, nbhrproject@gmail.com. All right, that's nbhrproject@gmail.com. All right. Now, with that being said, I bid you all truth, justice, peace, love, freedom, power, prosperity, protection, patience, and divinely principled purpose. I want to say, let us continue to strategize, organize, and mobilize. And finally, family, I want to say, Pomoja Tuta Shenda, which means together we will win. All right, peace and love, family.